My name is Benjamin Poole, and when I was 23, I gave my life savings to a broker who lost it all. But this taught me an invaluable lesson. I needed to educate myself to make my own financial decisions. Fast forward 20 years, I am no longer living paycheck to paycheck, and I want to share everything I've learned with you. Welcome to Financially Fit. Welcome everybody. I have a couple awesome charts I'm going to go over with you guys. So I'm actually going to break these charts down a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and start with the 10-minute chart, and then I'm going to move to the daily and then weekly. So this is kind of what you want to do with your chart setups to signal or to see where exactly the trend is going and where your support and resistance levels are. Okay, so I'm talking about for more for swing trading and stuff like that. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. We're going to be talking about WBA as well as ARKK. All right, so here's the first chart. This is WBA. So we have, this is the 10-minute chart. And what it looks like, it looks a little choppy. So what do we do from the chart for here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, zoom out on the chart so we can have a little bit bigger of a time frame. It kind of distorts the candles a little bit, which is why I wanted to start a little bit zoomed in. So here are a couple things that I'm looking at for WBA. With the 10-minute chart, you can see that we've got this support right here. It chops through here, came through here, and then here. So this was support, now it's underneath. Now it's actually becoming resistance. So what I was seeing is that as soon as this broke down, it's having trouble gaining momentum to get back through that now resistance line. So some people would think that this is creating this nice bear flag. So it's really poised to go a little bit lower. So that could be the case. So we're going to actually zoom out on the daily chart to see what it says. All right, so here is a chart of the daily WBA. So it's kind of signaling something similar, right? So you've got this downsloping trend line that it bounced off of support right here. It bounced up and now it's consolidating sideways. It's consolidating over this nice horizontal trend line. That's actually big resistance. Now that it's above it, it's big support. So that's why, although it looks like a bearish flag on the daily, the intraday chart, the 10-minute chart, and it's also looking like it on the daily chart. Let's switch to the weekly chart. So here is the weekly chart. So I want to show you guys a couple things. So right now, on the weekly chart, zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see. Right now, we don't have as much conviction as we need in order to determine whether this is actually a true bear flag or not. So we did have this big move down here. It closed below this trend line, and I'll show you what this trend line is here in a second. And it's doing some more consolidation. So what I do like about this chart for a little bit of a downside move is this inside bar pattern. So you've got this sideways consolidation inside of this red bar, but look at this trend line. This trend line goes back to 2009, all right? So it got way below, so that's what the trend line is. So it got way below this line, it got below this line, and it got above it. So now what this chart is telling me, that this is going to be strength until it breaks that line. And so it doesn't just need to break that, but it needs to consolidate underneath that line, and then it has the potential to go below it. If it's consolidating above it, you can actually still move higher because that's going to be strong support. Okay, so as you can see, and this is the weekly time frame, so it broke below it, but it never confirmed below this level on a closing basis. And so a lot of institutions want you to think that it's going to go lower, but it has to close below basically the $20 level on a weekly time frame in order for me to consider this bearish. Okay? So what am I looking for? Right now, I'm looking for a little bit more upward consolidation. And if it can break through this high, so right around 2303 area, it can get up to right about the 25. And so then what we're looking for is more consolidation right at that level for it to come up a little bit higher. All right. Now, if it breaks below that level, I've got additional support levels for you. So let me go ahead and switch to this chart. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult to see, but here is the WBA chart. All right. So here were those levels that I was talking about, right? So this goes back down 2009, and then a little bit lower, if I zoom out, you've got additional support. So it kissed these levels right here. So it got below these levels, and it actually tagged this level, got below it. And so my other support is right around 1858. So if it does consolidate below it, it can go to the 1858 and then ultimately down to 1462. And this, I have a pivot here and then a little pivot here. And so it was resistance, broke through it, and now it's support. And again, it goes back to 1998, 1997. And so, okay, there I am. 1998, 1997. And so I think this is going to be a super solid level of support. And again, it hasn't confirmed that this is a bearish pattern yet. It needs a couple more weeks of sideways consolidation right above that support level for it to finally break, or I think it's going to go up. All right, so what do you do with it now? You just kind of wait in it. If it gets down to that support level, you can put a buy order in and just slowly inch your way in as it goes down, or you could actually put a stop at any close below that level on a weekly closing basis. Okay, now we're going to go over to ARKK. So when I'm looking at ARKK, I'm looking at something similar. This is on the daily time frame. So you've got this support level right here. This pivot right here, for me, is going to be a solid support level, especially since you have all this other support right here. So if it consolidates above this level, it can actually move higher. So if it consolidates below it or breaks below it, pierces, and puts in consolidation, then it's actually going to go down to this 39.94 level. So I have this gap fill right here. And look at this. It's at the bottom of the pivot, and you have additional support in this area. So if it gets down to this level, excuse me, let me erase that, 13.94, nice. It would be a pierce of 40, which is another considered factor. Then you're going to get a bounce off of this. But if it doesn't bounce, I think it's ultimately going to go to the 35.31 level. Okay? So these are, this is what I'm looking for as far as like the ARK and the WBA. So when you guys are looking at charts, make sure that if you're looking at the 10-minute chart and it's telling you one thing, go ahead and zoom out on the daily and then on the weekly to see if it actually is going to make sense what your thesis is, right? Because you might have support and resistance levels that you're not seeing in those intraday charts, all right? So I hope you enjoyed this. There's my my levels on WBA and ARKK. So I hope you enjoy this, and we will see you next time on Financially Fit.